Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nneka of Niger Canada Girl. Today I'll be giving you a detailed breakdown on how to relocate to Canada as a permanent resident. Now, if this is information you'll be interested in, don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Now, this is a disclaimer I always put out there. I am not a licensed immigration consultant, so everything I say should be taken with a pinch of salt, and of course you'd have to do your own research. Everything I share is from my experience of moving to Canada as well as a permanent resident, and experiences of friends and people around me. Now that we have that out of the way, let us go. Yeah, so like I said, today I'm going to be talking about the Canada Express entry process. I want this to be the most detailed video out there. I'm going to try to rid it of all jargon or anything that might make it difficult to understand, and I'll try to make it as straightforward as possible. I have recently received a lot of requests. I mean, with everything that's been going on, especially in Nigeria, yeah, I will try to focus on the video at hand and not talk about that. So yes, I've received a surge in requests on how the express entry process works. So here I'm just going to be breaking it down, what the express entry process is, how it works, and the first step you can take to begin that process. Okay, so what is the express entry process? So the express entry process is a process by Canada, the government of Canada, for federal skilled workers to relocate to Canada to bring their experience from countries all around the world and come to Canada as permanent residents. So the whole idea is to bring those wonderful skill sets you have and help boost the Canadian economy. That is one of Canada's biggest assets. It's people. Immigration is really big in Canada. So that is a process the government came up with to help this process come to pass, to make it work, to make this happen. So how exactly does the Canada Express entry process work? So it's a points-based system where individuals are given points for different factors. And every month, well, this is flexible. It's not necessarily every month anymore. I mean, due to COVID, timelines might have increased, but periodically there is a cutoff point. And when you get to that cutoff score, Canada looks at you and they're like, okay, I think you have all we need and would like to proceed further with you. Here is an invitation to apply. Okay, so the first goal of the express entry process for any applicant is to get an invitation to apply by the Canadian government. Okay, now let's talk about the express entry in more details, just so that you know what exactly it is and you know where exactly to start from. Now, there are different factors that could give you those points. So like I did say, it's a point-based system. So you have points for your education, points for the number of years of work experience you have. There's also the family factor. So if you have siblings in Canada, you get more points. There's also the language factor. If you can speak English, if you can speak two languages, Canada's official languages are English and French. If you're able to speak both, you get more points. So what Canada is basically saying is, you know what, we really want people from all over the world to bring their wonderful skills to Canada to work. But of course, we can't take everyone. How do we make sure we are taking the most qualified people? And they're like, you know what? Let's make a point-based system where the more skills you have, the more points you have. And in the end, we take the most qualified people. So it's a point-based system, okay? So the first thing to do, even before you start the Canada Express entry process, is to check your eligibility. There's a link I'll be putting in my description box. And when you fill the answers, well, they'll be asking you a set of questions. And by the time you're done filling it, you'll be able to tell if you are eligible to apply or not. The good news is that a lot of people are eligible to apply because the requirements aren't rocket science. They just need you to have a degree and all that. So they need you to have work experience. So if this is you, if you're done filling that that form and you see you're ready to apply, then great, this video is definitely for you. So one of the requirements Canada needs in the application process is they need you to be able to speak one of the official languages of Canada, and those would be either English or French. Now, you might be the best English speaker out there, but Canada needs you to prove this. They actually need you to take a test, an English test. It's called IELTS. Now, note that under IELTS, there are two modules. There's the general training module and there is the academic module. Now, general training is what you are interested in. If you're coming here, if you're looking to come to Canada as a federal skilled worker, if you're looking to come here as a permanent resident. So if you're doing the test for immigration purposes, the module you should be registering for is general training. I would also put a link on how to register for the IELTS test in my description box. Now, the second thing you need to go is you need to have a degree from your home country, or it could be an international degree. You just need to have a formal education, an undergraduate education at the very least. Now, how do you prove to Canada you have this? I'm glad you asked. So there is something called evaluation of your degree. There are two bodies responsible for doing this. Well, two most popular bodies regular for doing this. There is WES, WES, that's the World Education Services, and there is ICAS. Now, what these bodies do, you don't have to use both, you just choose one and use that one. What they do is that they have your school send them your transcript and they convert that transcript to a Canadian version. So in the end, you'll be getting something that proves that, oh, this degree is the Canadian version of a BSc. This degree is the Canadian version of an MSc. Okay. So the first thing to do while doing that is to actually go to WES or ICAS, register. You need to pay to register. I can't remember how much it is right now, but when you register, they'll give you a unique code. When you get that unique code and you're asking your school to send your transcript to them, they need to put that code there so that they are able to associate that transcript with you. That code is unique to you. So they put the code, your name, and of course the address in Canada where they will be sending those transcripts to. Okay. Now, as soon as they receive this transcript, they begin to work on an evaluation. When it's ready, you'll be sent a notification, or it's sent back to you letting you know that, hey, your evaluation is done. Here is something to prove that you had an evaluation done, and it is the Canadian equivalent of a bachelor's degree. Now, note that you need to evaluate your highest qualification. So if, for example, you have a master's degree and a bachelor's degree, all you'd be doing is evaluating your master's degree. Now, unfortunately, I didn't know this at the time, so I went ahead and evaluated both my bachelor's and my master's degree, and guess what? The bachelor's stressed me the most. I was so pissed off to find out that I didn't even have to evaluate that. So these are the first two things you need to begin the express entry process. So your question is, okay, Nneka, I'm interested. What next? This exactly is it. You need to register to write the IELTS exam, and you need to have your degree evaluated. You could do them simultaneously. You don't have to do it one after another. Okay. Now, for the IELTS, the goal is to pass. The goal is to get the highest points possible, because you are evaluated based on the points you get. Remember, I said it's a point-based system. So obviously, someone who scores higher than you do in this test will be given a higher set of points. The IELTS is an exam where you're tested for your ability to speak English. There's a reading, listening, speaking, and writing test. And for each of these, you have a score. Okay, so what I usually advise is register. Don't register for an immediate date. Give yourself ample time to study. It could be 1 month, it could be 2 months, it could be 2 weeks, as long as you are dedicated to studying. So register, study, take the test. Okay. Now, when you have your IELTS results ready and you have your results evaluation ready from either WES or ICAST, then you are ready to enter the pool, the express entry pool. So the express entry pool, what it actually is a profile you create on the Canadian website. Okay. When you create that profile, or when you start creating that profile, it's going to be asking you several questions, from your date of birth to your family size to the places you've worked, how many years of work experience. It's a very lengthy form you need to fill. As soon as you're done filling that form, which would also include the scores you had in your IELTS, the code you used for your degree evaluation from either WES or ICAS, as soon as you're done filling that form and you save, a profile has been created for you. And that is what is called the pool. Now, for all those things you fill there is a total number of points you are given. That's how you know what your points are. And then periodically, it used to be at least 3 times a month, but with COVID, things have slowed down. But periodically, there is a new cutoff. So let's assume you have 450, okay? And there is a new cutoff that is 465. What Canada says is, okay, guys, everyone in the pool, listen up. Everyone that has 465 and above, welcome. You are invited to apply. They then send you all the requirements they need you to apply with. Okay. So when you're done creating your profile in the pool, you have a total score. Now, just to have an idea of what your potential score might be, I'll be putting a link in my description box to a tool. It's by the Canadian government as well. It's on their official website. I'll be putting a link just so you can see what your potential score would be. Okay, so that way you have an idea of where you need to put more effort, what you need to do to get more points and all that. So basically, there is a cutoff periodically, a cutoff score. Now, if you reach that cutoff score, Canada is pretty much telling you, okay, I think we're impressed so far. You are now invited to apply. Then they send you a list of the things you need to apply. So the first goal you have is getting an invitation to apply. Everything else is almost, now don't quote me, almost clear sailing from there. Like I always tell people, I am not an immigration consultant. I just put out advice based on my experience and experiences from my friends as well. Okay. Now, that is the first stage of the express entry process, getting your invitation to apply, also known as ITA. Now, what other requirements are there when you've gotten your ITA? The most important one is your proof of funds. Okay, now what are proof of funds? Just like the name implies, it's proof that you have funds to actually relocate to Canada. You're not giving this money to anyone. It's right there in your account, but they need proof that you have that account. Now, the proof of funds varies based on the family size. I do not know what the current amount is, but for example, let's assume this is just an example. I will put a link to the correct updated because it also changes. The proof of funds amount also changes. I'll put a link to the updated one so you can see it for yourself. But let's assume for a family of 1 in Naira this time, let's say it's usually in dollars, but for example, in Naira, it might be 3.8 million Naira, family of 2, 5 million Naira, family of 3, 6.5 million Naira. But you understand what I mean. So for every additional family member, the proof of funds you need to show you have increases. Okay, so that's the most important thing. Now, you can't just have someone transfer the funds to your account and you print out a statement and show the Canadian government. No, they need to know that it is your funds, because to be honest, I have this series called Immigrant Diaries. Immigrant Diaries is where, well, it's a series I started where immigrants here in Canada share their experience of moving and settling in Canada, and everyone's story is different. While some people might land their dream jobs immediately, some have to try to survive for a while before finding a job. So Canada needs to know that throughout this time, you have the funds to take care of yourself. You're not coming to be a liability. you have the funds to feed yourself, to rent a temporary place to live in while you are looking for a job for at least 3 months if, things don't go as planned. So that is why Canada needs to be sure that those funds are yours. So they need to see that those funds have been in your account for at least 3 months. If it's a treasury bills investment, they also need to see that it's been invested for at least 3 months. Okay. And the other forms of proof of funds that they accept, I'll be putting a link in my description box on proof of funds, a video I made so that you know the different types of proof of funds there are. There's also gift deed, where a family member, could gift you the money. Okay, so I'll be putting the link in my description box on the sort of proof of funds that Canada accepts. So that's one of the things they need after you've been sent your invitation to apply. So when you've been sent your invitation to apply, so it's not like a physical letter that is sent to you. Remember I talked about you creating your profile. That profile, that pool, that's everything you need, okay? So when you've been sent an invitation to apply, things actually get updated. So there you now see that you've been sent an invitation to apply, and then you just see different lines of different requirements they need with an upload button beside all of them. So all you need to do is hit upload, upload, upload. So proof of funds, upload your bank statements. If you mentioned you have 2 degrees, you'd see the box there, upload. You upload that. They also would be asking you for a medical result, a medical assessment, a medical evaluation. There are certain recommended locations they would advise you go to. When you have that done, upload. They need a police report as well, just to make sure that you're in good standing with the government and the law of your country. You upload that as well. So these are just a few of the requirements. They also require work experience. Now remember, you have to be honest when filling those forms. If not, it will catch up with you. If, for example, while filling the form, you mentioned you have 3 years experience in 2 different companies, and then when it's time to upload the reference letters from those employers, you're found wanting, Canada might see that as a red flag, as either you not being honest or you just being fraudulent. And you can either be hit with a misrepresentation charge, we could ban you from the country, or your profile could get rejected. So you just need to make sure you're putting in accurate information and you're being honest about all the information being requested for. Now, when you successfully upload all these documents they require and hit submit, that's usually such a relief. Then you wait. All you have to do is wait. They go ahead and have their investigation done. They review all the documents you sent. And if everything checks out, they're like, you know what, you're good to go. We'll need your passport to stamp it with a temporary visa for you to land as a permanent resident here in Canada. Yeah, I know it seems pretty straightforward, but one of the things you need to have during this process is patience and determination. You actually need to want to do this for yourself, because there are times you might hit roadblocks and you might feel like giving up. And if this was never your idea from the start, maybe someone was just pushing you to look into it, you really would not have the zeal to push through these challenges. So it really needs to be your idea first of all, okay? So now that I've given you a holistic view of what the express entry is, how to start the process, and what the process is, let's just talk about some other things you need to bear in mind. Number 1, the timeline. The timeline for the express entry used to be 6 months at the most. So timeline from when you submit your application used to be 6 months at the most. For example, mine was just 1.5 months. Even at that time, there were people who used to stay for up to 8 months before getting their approval. But even now, especially in these uncertain times with COVID, the timelines are much longer. So one of the things you need to exercise is patience. Number 2, you need to find out how to improve or increase your points. Once upon a time, the cutoffs were really reasonable and quite low. So all you had to do was have the necessary things and you apply, and then boom, you're sent an invitation to apply because you meet the cutoff. But lately, the scores have been high, which is understandable due to the increased number of people looking to relocate to Canada as a permanent resident. So what do you have to do? you need to try to figure out ways to increase your points. There are other things you could do. So you've put in your English language results. Do you speak some French as well? Are you able to learn some French and go write the French test so that you can get more points for language? Now that's a food for thought. Do you already have a bachelor's degree, right? And you just feel you haven't gotten enough points for education. Now, are there certificates you could do to be able to get more points for education? There are actually some certificates that are recognized by evaluation body as having one or more degree, which would give you some more points. I'll be making a different video about that and I will be sharing the link. Number 2, do you think you need the services of an immigration consultant? While I really believe in DIY, doing everything yourself, sometimes you might actually need an immigration consultant if you know this isn't your forte, you aren't really a good researcher, you aren't painstaking and this isn't just your thing. Do you want to consult with a certified immigration consultant? Now, this is a certified immigration consultant by the Canadian government. Okay, make sure you're not giving your money to fraudsters. Is this something you want to consider maybe? Now, these are some things you need to bear in mind. And then the fourth thing I need you to bear in mind, this is actually a very useful tip. I know I had mentioned evaluating your degree. Now, there are two main bodies responsible for this. There is WES, there's ICAST. But guess what? There are certain degrees that qualify as more than one degree. So you can get points for 2 or more degree if, for example, you studied law. Now, if you studied law and you want to have your degree evaluated, please do not use WES. WES would not evaluate it as 2 or more degrees. ICAS at the moment right now, however, evaluates law degrees, medical degrees as 2 or more degrees because they recognize those as professional fields. Okay, this is something you should also do some more research, into. Now, the next thing you need to note is that you need to check your occupation. I know I had said you need to have at least 1 year of work experience, but you need to actually go and make sure that your occupation is in the recognized occupations that are eligible to apply. Okay, now there are some occupations that are not eligible to apply. They are here in Canada, we call them NOC. Every occupation, so whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, a banker, an engineer, an IT guy, a software designer, a UX designer, you fall under a particular NOC. Okay, so I'll also be putting a link to make sure so that you could check to make sure that your profession is under one of the eligible NOCs. And finally, my disclaimer again, I am not an immigration consultant. Every advice I give is based on my personal experience because I also moved to Canada as an immigrant through the Federal Skilled Worker Express Entry process. Okay, I am not an immigration consultant, so everything I have told you should be taken with a pinch of salt, and you should put in further research to verify all of this information. I hope this video has been helpful. If it has, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button if you've not, and most importantly, please share with people who might need this. Okay? Thank you so much for watching. Please make use of my comment section. If you're already in the process, if there are other tips to add, I appreciate that. Put it right there in the comment section. If you have questions, put it right there in the comment section and I'll answer to the best of my abilities. Till my next video, take care.